Well, I was teaching in the New York City area in a public high school where I couldn't actually believe the conditions that I was working in. The schools were overcrowded. There was violence on a daily basis where we needed to have security guards and metal detectors, and they weren't always so effective. And there was very little money for supplies. In general, it seemed like nobody really cared about what was going on in these schools. That motivated me to bring this message to the public. I created a mobile art installation that I took to the streets to inspire people to do something about the conditions that existed in the schools, because frankly, the students deserve a lot better than that. I installed Hope in a 24-foot moving truck and spent 4 days touring the New York City area. I parked the installation in front of City Hall for 2 days, on 125th Street in Harlem for a day, and directly across from the Brooklyn Museum on the last day. I took the exhibit to communities where the schools were operating under terrible conditions to raise community awareness to stimulate political action. The truck contained 3 separate rooms. As people entered the truck, they encountered the first room, called Learning Through a Veil of Violence. Here, they experienced a small room crowded with desks, upon some of which were mounted exact replicas of handguns. The guns were aimed at the height of the back of the student's head, sitting directly in front. On top of each desk sat a copy of Lord of the Flies, covered with red paint. A map of the United States was covered with inverted red flag-like stripes. Upon the wall were statements of students from the high school in which I had taught, which expressed in often very graphic terms students' experience with violence and overcrowding. An audio tape of classroom and hallway noise constantly looped over the speakers mounted in the room. The second room was called Observation Room. While the room's window looked directly into the classroom, the administrator's desk was turned away from the oppressive classroom scene. However, on the desk sat 2 telephones with direction to pick up the receivers. While the viewer picked up the phone, they would hear a tape of parents, teachers, and activists urging the school system to address their concerns about violence and overcrowding. While on the phone at the desk, the viewer was positioned so that they could see their own reflection and that of the classroom as they heard the parents' pleas for help.
They are our future. If we don't take care of them now, we're going to pay for it later.
The last room of the exhibit was entitled Hope. This room contained a 4-foot wide nest constructed from vines that cradled a gilded child-sized desk. As the viewers left the back of the truck, I invited them to sign a letter I had drafted to President Clinton, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the school's chancellor, New York City Council members, and the United States senators sitting on the Education Committee. The signers were also asked to provide their own comments. These signed letters by concerned citizens were the foundation of my next artwork entitled Big Balls Game. The more viewers of the Hope Project I spoke with, the more I realized just how disenfranchised they felt from the political process. The people were actually hesitant to sign because they felt the letters would fall on deaf ears and be promptly thrown away because politicians didn't care about these communities or schools. Their feelings inspired me to take their words and make a book entitled Concerning Education to be sent to each politician whose name appeared on the letter. I photocopied each of the 800 letters I collected from viewers to create the book. But that was not enough. Fueled by the viewers' concerns that the letters would likely be thrown aside and never reach the intended politicians, I decided to create a sculpture out of the original statements. I inserted each letter into a plastic bottle. The bottles were then assembled into a giant ball which served as a centerpiece for a public demonstration. On demonstration day, the big ball of letters was rolled across the Brooklyn Bridge to the steps of the mayor's office at City Hall. While the problems are far from over, progress was made and consciousness was lifted, and that's what I set out to do.
I think it's a very powerful expression of what goes on inside the schools, because you can see from the writings of the students that many of them have wrote, from the heart about different things that have affected them, whether inside the school or out of the school. And I think that this exhibit definitely does bring an awareness of what is actually going on inside of the schools, and maybe more people, or as people come by to see the exhibit, they would probably be more inclined to help, whether that be voting in a positive way towards candidates that would better the public school system, or maybe actually taking part or even volunteering in the schools every now and then.
I think this is a great idea. It's good to see someone taking the initiative.
It was a strong dose of reality. It had the ring of truth, and I know it's true. And it's very, very disturbing. I wish every parent could hear this. It's not that there aren't good people in the system, they're trying, but bureaucracy is deadly.
It's really extraordinarily touching. I'm very affected by it.
This is really a beautiful work. See the child as a little bird. You have to be very careful, keep it in a nice close nest, make it safe so they can concentrate and learn. The gold is how precious the child is. That's what the color represents, okay?
The idea of that gold table really says it all. It's great, it's a fantastic idea.
Thank you.
Bring the attention to the community, the importance of our children's education.